Hello and welcome to Autistic Radio on a Sunday, sponsored by coldpack.co.uk. For practitioners wanting the best cryotherapy product for their patients, which also advertises their practice, coldpack.co.uk is the place to go, whilst also supporting us here at Autistic Association. Harry, I think we've got a new way of starting now with a poem. Is that where we are today?
Yes, yeah, Jules. Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Harry's Facebook for Sunday, the 1st of March 2026. And this is where we share the post from our autisticradio.com Facebook page. And the first post of today is a poem. It's a poem by Robbie Prosser. And it's called Kid on a BMX. I'm looking through a magazine, looking at the ads. I glance at the photos. One catches my eye. There is a kid on a BMX bike, mid-air above a ramp. I don't take much notice of his name below, just wondering what it feels like and what he's thinking. Is he excited? It all looks so natural, so easy. In the picture, I see how I'd like to be, how I am inside my mind. I know it's not what others see. Could that kid in the picture someday be me? What's your thoughts?
So this is dated 2002. I know from conversations with Robbie that he's keen on BMX, and just wonder, in the in-between period, did he fulfill the desire? And yeah, within this piece of poetry.
It got as far as getting the bike.
Uh, Go on.
No, I was just going to quickly say, a humorous thing, it's like, so some people can't play guitar, but they get a guitar, and it's what they used to call air guitar. So they pretend they're playing one. So you've got a BMX, you can pretend, you can have an air BMX.
I've ridden the bike, but I've never got to as far as doing tricks. But that's something I might try again.
Aren't they quite small, these bikes, Robbie?
Yes, they are, and I had to have a special seat post made. In fact, I'd done that twice because my original one was nicked. So because I'm a little bit heavier, I had to have a special seat post made.
I enjoyed reading that aloud and, of course, within myself. And I like the flow of the poem. And it reminds myself, it's like it's capturing something that's interesting, but then asking a question about it, and then it gets a little bit deeper. Then it comes back to yourself. And I've done that a few times myself with writing. So that's the kind of poetry that I like the best. And I've heard so many people do it in many places. I used to go to different different creative writing groups, and places like where people would stand and do readings. Sometimes poetry, sometimes it would be, song, all kinds of stuff. And I like the journey that these poems go through, particularly Robbie's one we're talking tonight. It's this journey and a picture being created in my head, even about a description of a picture that I haven't seen and hasn't been shared, but it's what's being written about. And I just find that that's how poetry can be so powerful.
Last week I was wondering, I was guessing kind of like I was imagining yours would be minimalist and that it would be like prose poetry, kind of getting at your consciousness. And I was right. It's really delightful.
This is semi-fictional. The picture didn't exist. It was a rare occasion I wrote to a given topic.
That's even better.
It's like what Teresa says. When I was at school, they said to us that something like this was prose poetry, and I would then later try and I would always write like this. It was also, they used to call it a meditative essay as well. It's like you're meditating on a subject. But there was a time when I felt like I would take each individual sentence and just put one after the other in the way that a poem is sometimes formed, just to see how it looks as, in that structure, rather than the structure of, how we would normally write it like this, which is like, like a paragraph, to see if it took on a different rhythm in the poem structure. Not often, it's good as it is, and in my case, it was always good as it was, you just got to get this stuff out sometimes, and I echo totally what Harry says, the wee journey that it goes on, it's fab.
Well, one of my favorite things on earth is minimalist anything. And I always imagine it in the middle of a page in a book with lots of white space around it, almost like it's a mat. And then the tiny little story or the tiny little poem is in the middle. And so it makes it look more like a piece of art. In my mind, I'm doing this. It's not real, but I just love this kind of thing so much. Just like I love maybe I just love poetry and creativity like this and GR, you know what I mean?
If you see this as a creative process, oh god, I was going to say something and it's totally gone now. Yeah, we. I'm reflecting that sometimes in my autistic moments, I think like this, and it's almost like I'm having an interview with myself. I'm interviewing myself. It's like maybe I create another character, and they ask me or I ask them something, and work something out as thought, But then we sometimes get creative and want to put it somewhere on paper, say, or read it out loud. So I just see that maybe this is autistic creative process as well.
I think it's the sparsity that attracts me to it. Nothing extraneous. Every part of it offers the question. The difference between the image, the difference between the person writing the poem, what questioning how they're seen in society, the yearning to be something that's different, to be something that's iconic. There are so many different ways of linking it all together in its sparsity. And that always appeals to me. It's almost as though the puzzle's put out there for you to complete and you to make it mean whatever it means to you.
I really like the different lengths of sentences, and they sound so natural. I don't know if it all comes out of you at once, but like, and so like one catches my eye, so it's like this little short tight punctu- punctuation, and then there's a longer run-on sentence, I think, or you know, it's sort of like you're getting more excited, and you do say, "Is he excited?" It's just lovely.
The next post is from Jordan James. The next post is from Jordan James, the autistic photographer. Public figure, autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, and generally neurodivergent photographer. Parent, husband, advocate, ND specialist, author, and the host of the Neurodivergent Experience podcast, and also a motivational speaker. And he shared the following: I love being different. Being autistic gives me a unique perspective of the world around me. It is why I'm good at photography. It is why I'm self-taught. It is why I share my gift with the world, and it is why I am proud to be different. Of course, I have disabilities, but those disabilities can be overcome for me, which I consider myself very fortunate for. The abilities autism gives me far outweigh the negatives. I didn't always feel like this. For a long time, I rejected and hated my autism. But finding my special ability to spot compositions and teach myself and others how to bring the beauty of the world home with me on my camera changed my mindset and set me free of my internal anguish. Don't ever be ashamed of being different. Being different is what makes humans diverse. This is my experience as an individual and does not reflect. This is my experience as an individual and does not reflect or speak for other autistic individuals. Jordan James. And he shared one of his pictures, which is beautiful. It's by the shore, with a tree in the middle in the water. What's your thoughts?
I like it because he doesn't make it seem like it's a superpower. You know how some people do. Like maybe he's a bit more mental. Yeah.
From what I'm seeing for it, I identify with it very much. From the words that Jordan's sharing, there was a time for a long time in my life that I hated my autism. I felt it was getting in the way of what I was supposed to be doing in life because I had all these barriers thrown in front of me because of my autism. But then when I learned about what autism is about, when I started to let go of the cynicism and see the beauty of my own skills, my own personality, the way that I do things, And the creativity that I can do, that's when it eases. And then you speak to other autistic people and share those experiences, all different points of view, all different ways of feeling. I'm now the best place I've ever been, to be honest, with my autism. And I did describe before, and I have shared before about the journey, is from the diagnosis to the present day. It went through all those different things of, it felt a disability, then it felt like a superpower, and now it just feels I'm human, basically. But the journey was a long one, nearly 30 years ago. So it's very direct, but I like the beautiful way that Jordan puts it across. And he also says that this is my experience. I am not trying to say this is the way it should be or will be, but it's the way that it could be for some people.
Yeah, it's always positive to hear acceptance and self-acceptance.
Do you think that, like, sorry, some of us who are older are going to get there? Because it sounds like it takes a while, but it sounds so great to get to.
Really
All
interesting.
journeys, I would imagine, because everyone is different, will be shorter than others, sometimes longer than others, of course. And it's only you that knows the destiny or feels you've reached the destination, or not the destination, destination's a bit heavy to say because that's when you're saying it's the end. It'll never be the end that way, except death, of course. It's more about the progress, the milestones. And some people will feel the milestones are further away, and others will feel more confident that they're closer. And there's a lot of them quite close together. But it all depends on the individual, how they've experienced, and of course, when they were diagnosed or identified as autistic.
I think it's interesting because we come across this as a repeated pattern where people go through a process. They might call it a grief process, or they might call it a self-realization process, or they might call it, people look for patterns in things, and there's definitely different things people come across that we make into these programs in our heads, and I think they're valid. They describe people's experience. That's a valid thing. But there's also another issue that we don't all have to do it this way. And our experience, especially if we're late identified autistic people quite late in life, in their 50s and 60s and 70s, it might look as though somebody's putting out some kind of program for us, and it's not appealing to us. But I think it's different at our age group. I think we have a kind of a catalogue to look back on quite quickly, and there can be a different process. So if you're asking at our age, can we come to a good settlement of identity quickly enough? I would say yes, Teresa. I really do think. I think it's a different process to what might be being described here, but yes.
I didn't even know anything about autism until my mid-20s, and I thought it was just me that wasn't good enough. It wasn't actually connected to autism because I didn't know about it. and I was only finally diagnosed in my mid 40s, and by then I just learned to accept myself as I was. Just accepted majority of society just wasn't going to like me.
I appreciate that you said that, Jules. Feel, yeah, I feel happy for this man, and I really love what he said. And yeah, I guess we'll get somewhere.
Just going on from what Robbie said about people not liking or not accepting of who you are. And that is a hell of a barrier to overcome. Even when you say, to hell with them, nothing wrong with me, they're the ones that have got the problem, not me. But it's a very difficult thing to do, especially if you're in a community or a very small community and there's not a lot available. But the first step to feeling better is certainly acceptance. But it's a hard thing to do because even though you don't do it consciously, well, I certainly don't, there's this sort of normal thing that society kind of measures everybody up to. And if you don't measure up as well to this so called thing, it's like you feel inferior to it. If you've been judged, if you've been mocked, if you've not been taken seriously. And that's happened to a lot of autistic people. And that's why there is anguish and resentment, and a lot of people find it harder to go through the life journey for what Robbie and Teresa and Jules and I are all talking about in different ways.
I do really feel for you, Robbie. Um, I feel those people, yeah, they kind of don't deserve you because you shine a lot more recently. Like, really, in the past 3 weeks or something, there's a brightness to you. And think about it a lot.
Sorry, just to reflect on that, the thing of not being liked. There's also, I mean, there's an old Oscar Wilde quote there, but I can't remember it. But there's also that thing of just being ignored. You might not know that people don't like you, although it's very obvious in a lot of situations. But there just might be this thing of no interaction at all. This common feeling people have that humans need companionship, humans need to make contact, be social. There's a big pressure on that. But of course, isolation is no answer. So, yeah, it was just reflecting on that thing of like, sometimes you just get no reaction at all.
You and I are two of the originals of Autistic Radio, going back a long time now in this project. And we've had other people along for that ride. We've got people here at different stages thinking about their autism. But overall, the balance that we're putting out here in our recordings, our podcasts, our live broadcasts is of a general overall feeling that people have a sense that there is an identity called autism that they can put as part of one of their other identities in their sphere, in the whatever way they want to think of their overlapping identities, all their different convergences and overlaps. overall, what we're doing here is putting out a positive possibility for people who have looked at their own autism and become comfortable that that is the kind of person that they want to be. This post is really intrinsic to what we're doing here.
Robbie shared, the biggest step was finding the communities that accept me as I am. The next post is from Autism Goggles community page and described as a place to learn about what it can mean to be autistic. And they shared the following. Autistic adults living with parents. Many autistic young adults become skilled tradespeople, go on to thrive in post-secondary settings, earning diplomas, degrees, and even multiple degrees. They are intelligent, thoughtful, and capable. Why then do a number of the same individuals continue living with parents well into their 20s, 30s, and even 40s? This can be confusing to outsiders and other relatives. Not that it is any of their business. What is often invisible are the reasons behind it. One important factor is intolerance of uncertainty. Many autistic people have a natural predisposition towards anxiety when outcomes are unknown. This connects closely with the autistic need for predictability. When the future feels undefined, decision-making can feel risky rather than exciting. For some autistic adults, the end of formal education removes structure, routine, and clear expectations. Life becomes filled with choices that have uncertain outcomes, and the pressure to choose correctly can feel overwhelming. Intolerance of uncertainty can make questions such as these feel paralyzing. What if I choose the wrong job or program? What if I move out and cannot manage daily life tasks? What if I don't like where I live or lose my job? Catastrophic thinking can take over. When answers cannot be known in advance, remaining still can feel safer than choosing incorrectly. Just stop there at the moment. What's people's thoughts so far?
I just found that I didn't ever feel the need because I had that what it says there was a foundation, and whenever I went out in the world, if I failed, I had something to return to, and it helped me to keep going. And I my parents, mostly my mother, she she advised me, and um, she she helped deal with all the real life stuff, as I call it. And she's been gone 12 years yesterday was the 12th anniversary of her passing away. And now I have to deal with real life stuff. And I don't feel that I, although people say, oh, you're doing so well and all this, I don't really feel that. But I do manage to keep going. But it's the foundation that my mother gave me that helps me to keep going.
I had absolutely no reason to want to move out. I could live independently in my parents' house. The upstairs was mine, downstairs was my parents. My dad supported me with the stuff I struggled with, like the form filling, phone calls, and supported with meetings. I supported my parents with preparing and cooking food for them and doing shopping and helping with gardening. And all moving outward causes isolation and extra bills. I saw absolutely no point. It's just that it's, for some reason, society's expectations that you have to move out.
Is what Robbie just mentioned there what you were referring to, GR, as real life stuff?
Even though I obviously moved out, and I mean, I know people who do stay there, and I totally understand it. I also am so bad at some things, and I feel so much better now knowing that I'm, you know, like I know people think, how can you be so good at one thing and not good at these other things that are just easy common sense things? So I can't I don't identify with this post, but I identify with that it is a great idea to live at home for a lot of people.
I think
We need to be
it's another
flexible.
thing. Sorry.
I'll go ahead. We need to be flexible and think of different arrangements, especially when somebody is of a different generation to yourself and learning disabled, or there are going to be there's going to be a legacy. So one of those ways of creating independence is actually having somebody alongside you, learning more and more independent skills for a longer period of time, before the inevitable happens and you die and your child has to fend for itself and work out ways for itself. So I can see it being a very good thing to be a longer splint, a longer support, as long as people are actually actively thinking like that. It's quite a hard thing to do, to be thinking of your own demise at the same time as trying to live in the moment and enjoy life. So there are issues.
I think there's something, you're leaving home. Home is a nebulous concept, but why I never felt the need to create or attempt to recreate what I had in another location without the people that were there for me. So this is my home and this is where I live.
Continuing with the post, it says another contributing factor is executive functioning differences. Many autistic adults, including those with co-occurring ADHD or missed ADHD, experience difficulty with the practical skills needed to manage daily life. This can include managing finances, maintaining living spaces, organising appointments, initiating tasks, and keeping up with ongoing household responsibilities. The desire for independence is often very strong. The ability to consistently manage every step required for independence is often not. When support is regularly needed for safety and well-being, living at home can be a thoughtful and practical choice. Thinking skills can also play a role. When autistic and ADHD neurologies intersect, decision-making can become even more complex. Autistic processing may focus on analysing details and possible outcomes, while ADHD processing may hold a clear vision of the future, but struggle to organise the steps needed to reach it. This combination can create inertia. The person is not lacking motivation. They are navigating competing, compressing demands that make decisions exhausting. Living at home in this context can function as a support rather than a setback. It can provide emotional safety, practical assistance, financial stability, and space to recover from burnout or uncertainty while continuing to grow. For those who require regular supports with essential tasks, it can be ideal, especially when parents respect the adult child's autonomy and decision making while providing support without shaming or judging. In today's economy, multi-generational living is also financially sensible for many families, disabled or not. Most importantly, independence is not defined by a postal code. It is defined by autonomy, dignity, and the ability to live in ways that honour one's needs. Choosing to live at home is a decision between the autistic adult and their family. It is a decision that does not require input from others. Most people's thoughts.
Is it a parent writing this? And I think it's really good what they're saying. And then what Jules added about thinking about the future is also good.
Since my father passed away, I have not been able to find suitable support. Social care just wanted to seize control of my life. I don't need decisions made for me. I can make them on myself. It's issues like filling in forms, and there's no in between with them taking control of your life or being left to struggle.
Even though I've left home, and I left home almost 25 years ago, my flat is only 5 minutes away from my parents' house, from where I moved from. I moved out at the age of 20. And the reason that I moved out was because the house that I was in, there wasn't enough room. And when we moved into that house, because I was 8 years older than my brother, I didn't want to share a room. I just felt it was too much of a gap because he was a young boy and I was an adult, and say, he was 12 when I moved into my house, actually. So I ended up sleeping in a room which wasn't really a bedroom. It was accommodated into a bedroom. It's like those houses which has a cloakroom, has 2 front doors, and one of them's a cloakroom, and I actually had that as a bedroom for 2 years. And as I got older, not long after my diagnosis, I was becoming irritable because I did certain patterns that my mum and dad didn't understand why, like taking a nap after I was at college because I was burnt out. But it was during the day, and they're saying, "Why are you sleeping during the day?" They just didn't understand that concept, because they say you go up in the morning, you go to bed at night, and you sleep at night, and if you sleep at night, everything should be okay in balance. The so-called, if things go well. So I did get my own house, but it was through support from the Scottish Association of Mental Health, a support worker through that, a support of getting medical points and all that sort of thing to get the house that suited me, which is a 1-bedroom flat, kind of 4-in-a-block kind of flat, which used to be allocated for older people. I think at that time I was one of the first younger person to move into these kind of houses, and I've been here ever since. And although I am reasonably independent, I still have that safe structure of my parents just being down the road if I need help with something. And it could be something like dealing with a phone call, something that's a crisis, and somewhere just to go if I felt bad, which has happened in the past. And they, of course, come to me if need be. So even though it's not physical, the structure's still there. And I've got siblings, all my other siblings have moved further away. Some have their own families. And it's just something I couldn't grasp of doing, moving away from what I feel is a safe structure, safe haven that I have, and move somewhere completely new. And then it just be an utter nightmare. Even just thinking about it now as someone nearly 45 years of age. So it's that concept as well as being in the home itself.
That's a very good explanation, and I feel like if this was like an hourglass, you'd be the one right in the middle of like, say, Jules and me having families. That does give structure, but I still do feel like I'm not really good at common sensible things. And then, you know the ones like GR and Robbie, it totally makes sense to me. And I also have friends who did the same. So you're you're you described it so well and so thoughtfully. Thank you.
I'd like to share the text in the post as well, in the picture. And it says, the parent's home offering support for an adult autistic child is not failure to launch. It can be the foundation making autonomy and, if desired, independence possible. Independence exists in choices we make, not our geography.
I was kind of interested in that phrase there. I'm glad you reread it, Harry. This idea of the failure to launch almost sounds like that thing when they say, like, birds leave the nest. But failure to launch, I was like, what is launching actually like? I'm sure it's very varied for a lot of people, but there does seem to be a stereotypical kind of, what do they call it, way to live your life. You know, get a sort of education, figure out what you're good at, get employed somehow with those skills, make money, get a home, raise a family. I suppose that's the thing, but a lot of people aren't quite operating in that way, and so they look for alternatives, or they just stay at home. I would have stayed at home, you know, to a certain extent, but there were things I couldn't do at home, so I needed to find somewhere where I could be myself, as it were. And you get into an economy there of people who are spare rooms, and let you become part of that kind of economic community, for good or ill. And then maybe if you're lucky on a waiting list, you get your own council house, which I did, but it was in a horrible area. So I was quite relieved to go back and look after elderly parents later in life, which eventually meant, you know, I was able to inherit my family home. So it's a long-winded route, but it's a variation on the theme.
The next post is from Weird Pride Day, which is a just for fun page and a celebration of weirdness and diversity every 4th of March. Weird is not an insult. And what they've shared is the following. We have an exciting lineup of events for this year's Weird Pride Day, which is Wednesday, more than we've ever had in one year before. Stimpunks and Amaze are co-hosting a round of lightning talks at noon, PST 8 AM, GMT, on the day, where everyone can talk for up to 7 minutes on a weirdness-related theme. Robin Ince and Kate Fox, stand-up poet, will be joining us again, this time with fellow non-fiction poets Joanne Limburg and Sonny Hallett, all of whom are many other things beside poets. Fergus Murray is chairing a discussion on the monstrosity in humanity via a mix of writers, academics and artists. Dr. Sarika Davis, Elizabeth Ito, Samita Unjumbled and Nat Patterson. David Gray Hammond, Emergent Neurodivergence. David Gray Hammond, Emergent Divergence, who suggested this year's theme of Weird Pride in a Hostile World, is hosting a roundtable chat with Bobby Ellman, Autistic Realms, and Marion from Aurora Consulting. And there's a link to more information on these events itself. Has anyone heard of this before? I have briefly, but this is the first time I've seen a big post about events celebrating this particular day.
Yeah, I have. They've been doing this for a number of years online, but it kind of goes back to historically a thing called Mad Pride, I think, which was in London, which was, you know, kind of mental health rights and representation in the way you would say, you know, it comes from the other pride models for other communities. So one focused on the mental health issues has now become one focused on specifically neurodivergent issues, I would imagine. Yeah.
The next post is from Neuro the Universe. We are who we are, which is a blogger and community organisation. Our mission is to support neurodivergent individuals and their families through inclusive, holistic, and community-based approaches. And they shared the following. You know when you're cooking breakfast and open a cupboard and decide, now is exactly the right time to tidy and sort it while the bacon is cooking. Now I'm on Amazon to order more baskets to do the rest. Now I'm on Amazon to order baskets to do the rest. I see this as spring cleaning. What's people's thoughts on this? Can people identify with that?
So I think this is about spring cleaning, that feeling, isn't it? But at first, when you started reading, Harry, I thought, is this going to be about that ADHD neurodivergent thing about going to do one task and then totally getting consumed by another one because it's more intricate and interesting? I saw a video recently about this, about somebody who's going upstairs to sort out their socks and halfway up the stairs decides to rearrange all the pictures on the wall. So their colleague decides to tell them, describe for them how sorting the socks could be as intricate and even more complex than making a gallery of pictures on the wall. And so suddenly they give up this idea of rearranging the pictures and zoom upstairs to do the socks.
There's a quote attributed to Quentin Crisp. Someone asked him, "Do you clean the house?" And he said, "No." And the person said, "Well, what about the dust?" And Quentin Crisp said, "Well, after 4 years, it never gets any thicker." And I'm in that camp.
So am I. My mother, yeah, I had the tidiest room on earth because I didn't move anything. And I'm looking right now at dust.
Do you not find yourself getting allergies? Like, I sneeze a lot when I disturb the dust in my house, you know, and say my bookshelves, or if I'm going through boxes and cupboards to find something, and I disturb a lot of things that have accumulated dust on them, I'm sneezing for about a day afterwards.
The secret is not to disturb the dust.
Ooh, that sounds almost mystical. How do you not disturb the dust? Do you have to be
don't move
very
anything.
polite?
You just don't move anything.
This is like Miss Havisham, isn't it? It's like, I'll get this image from, you know, Great Expectations of the house covered in cobwebs.
I can see one now. I do try to get those, but I can see one. It's just what GR said.
You see a cobweb? Cobwebs are amazing.
Sometimes I even see a spider. Look, it looks great here, other than that.
The spring cleaning thing is an interesting thing to me because it's something that I've always thought of doing but never really get round to it. My house isn't dirty. It is clean, but it's not immaculate. There's this rule that you must do this so many times a week. You must do it this way and do that way, or the place will look filthy or whatever. It's like that sort of thing has been said to me. And sometimes I even get asked, you know, when's the last time you hoovered? You know what I mean? What? I hate that question. You know, when I look at my house, it looks clean. It's a bit of clutter and stuff, but it's, you know, reasonably clean. And I'm just wondering if that's actually an autistic thing. It's like I don't want to move anything. It's like, and not just that, it's like knowing where to start. It's like, right, but I just cannot plan it. Even though I live in a small house and it should be easy enough to do, but it just seems a bit of a drama in the mind anyway. Although many times I just get on with it. I just wonder if that's an autistic thing, or it's just me being lazy.
There's
The
a
reason I
Bing
oh,
there's a
go
Bing
ahead.
Crosby song called "Busy Doing Nothing." I'm busy doing nothing, working the whole day through, trying to find lots of things not to do.
The reason I think it could be autistic is that I have a sister so close in age to me who is not autistic. And she had a normal teenage girl room, like tried on lots of outfits. They were lying all around. My mother actually made me trade rooms with her. I had the big room because I was older, but when company came, if they had to go upstairs to use the washroom, her door was right at the top of the stairs. So I had to switch rooms with her. And it always looked nice when you looked in mine because I just didn't move anything. I would look at the stuff, I just didn't move them. I mean, like I move stuff on my desk, so it's not dusty, but once I put decorations around or books on a shelf or I just leave them there. So maybe it's autistic. I think so.
Yeah, Ray says when a carpet is too old. Well, I have changed my carpet once, and the last carpet showed up the need to hoover more than the current one does, which is a strange thing. It's like you need to have a magnifying glass to kind of see what places to hoover. It's just the way the pattern is. I didn't buy it because of that. It just turned out that way. It's quite strange.
Probably a good skill in a carpet designer.
Rubbish shared. I tidy up, wash up, etc. when I have to. And I think that's the sort of kind of mindset that I have.
It's not that last minute rush though, which my friend seems to suffer from, especially if he's having a visit.
I do kind of like having company once in a while so that I will clean it up. Mm. Okay, but I think it is clean other than dust. But I do kind of like that idea of having, and it's not often that I do have company. Yeah, I don't mind that. And it does prompt me to do more. But I do my dishes and like areas that should be free of germs are definitely free of germs. Yeah, all that. I hate people to move my stuff. My sister knows that better than anyone. My son too, so he moves my stuff all the time.
On that subject, there was a thing I saw. There's a theme that seems to run through the TV series Astrid, that everybody who works in the police office has a desk that they lay out in a certain way. Some are chaotic, some are very ordered, some are just more intriguing. And of course, Astrid can't help but want to interfere with certain desks because they're not quite like hers. But I always thought the way somebody lays out a desk can say a lot about their character.
I have a spot on my desk for my dog?
Robbie shared in text, I don't often have company, which I think means visitors, which I don't really have either, actually, in my own house, apart from the gas man. That's the only one I'm expecting in the next week or so. And I have to unbury chair when I have visitors.
Now there's a poet. He's just invented a word, unbury, that I am now going to use forever.
Well, thanks everyone. It was a great discussion tonight. Starting with the poem all the way to the discussion we're having now. So this is Harry's Facebook for Sunday the 1st of March 2026, which is part of the Spectrum Voices conversation, here every Sunday, 5:55 to 7 p.m. UK time. We'll enjoy tonight. I look forward to next time. Goodbye.
Can you press end screen?